Hi, this is going to be a semi-rough guide for Battle Kid Fortress of Peril's Unfair mode, the mode where you only have one life to beat the whole game, and if you die you're sent back to the start. The route here was made by looking at speedruns at TAS and Sir Patch's clear of this run, as well as strategies of my own. This guide is specifically for version 1.1, as you can see. There is a 2.x version of the game, which I'm told is easier in some way, however, I've not played it, so I don't know exactly what the differences are. However, I imagine there is still a lot of crossover. The way this guide is going to work is I've written down some timestamps for individual rooms that I thought might be worth noting, a strategy that is an alternative option, or things to be aware of while you're playing. However, the vast majority of the game, like 99% of it, is entirely consistent, so most of the strats will just be watch my clear as I feel like what I've done is incredibly recreatable. As a reminder, if you do enter a room and you feel like you've mistimed it, you can just leave and re-enter to start the timer again. That's how this game works. So, with that said, I'll get started. Minor note on this one. You can jump over this green thing here, as just whenever I saw it, it looked uncomfortable to me, so I didn't do that. But it shouldn't be too hard. Get through. The first major room that's a bit of a problem is the bats here. My strategy for this is when this bullet gets a little bit before this block, I jump to the side, then jump up, go a bit late to the left, and you'll be able to make it. There's two other ways that you can do this. Sir Patcher goes under the bullet here, so he lands on the glass, the bullet goes over him and he jumps up. Another one that I found was that if you actually go fast enough, probably with a similar strat to what I have currently, you can actually jump over the next wave of bullets right as they spawn, and also technically fall straight down at the gap on the side here. Boss 1 here. So people's timing on this will be a little bit different depending on how well you can mash. Sir Patcher could get 3 cycles in before doing damage. Speedruns can obviously mash to hell and back, but my mashing is average at best. There's only one thing to really be aware of on this boss, which is when you can't just run into the wall, you've got to wait for a bit, which will be the next one for me here. Yeah, you can either count the number of up spikes, the up tentacle things that come up. For me, it was specifically 1 cycle after he turns purple, but depending on your damage, that will be a little different. And then be a little careful at the end. Minor thing on this room, which is just be a bit careful at the edge here, just be a little bit off, just to make sure you can get this gap. It's pretty far. You can wait here to retime this. I saw Sir Patcher do it. I was perfectly okay with going for it though. Also for the last room on this, as long as you go as soon as the second blue one spawns, you'll always make this. Because I tried waiting a little bit for these. 5. Another note on this one. This room killed me far more than I care to admit. Here. So, as long as right on the edge of your foot is on the block, you can still make it. I could go a little bit further off here, but if your foot, like if the left side of your right foot is lined up with the block here, you are not far enough off this edge. You can still make it. It's not unreasonable or anything, but it did kill me more than twice, and therefore it's worth noting. It's not hard to go further, especially with the 1 frame delay on tapping. Like, the first frame will keep you on the same spot, but obviously it's a little bit scary. However, the extra jump distance that you'll get is actually quite worth it for just making the jump a little bit more lenient. Also, just a note here on the fact that my mashing is subpar. If you're quick enough, you can obviously make it up here, but I will miss half my shots. This strategy looks scary, that I saw in speedruns, but it's actually surprisingly consistent. Feel free to try it out yourself. It saves you a lot of just jumping up, trying to shoot, and it takes a long time. But the way to die on this is you've got to be pretty far on either the left or the right, And then also it's got to be bad timing on this guy. Like here, for example, this would be perfectly fine because he's dead in the center. But if I was far to the left and I jumped a bit late, then obviously I clip him. But it's surprisingly lenient to do it, despite how scary it looks. Nice, thank you, video. A lot of the strategies that I won't be talking about, if they look scary, they're probably more consistent than you think. Yes, you can just hold right here. I was surprised too. Feel free to find your own spot specifically for this. If you hug the wall, this is actually too far over for me. But it works pretty well here to make sure I can match down the first wizard quicker. Because obviously the further away you are, you can only have 3 bullets on screen at once. So if I did this from the left side, I don't know exactly when he'd die. But there is a space around here as well that's similar to what I have there. Next timestamp. For the next room, after waiting the first 2 cycles, I believe this guy will take another 7 shots before he comes back to shoot you. So you have all the time in the world to get rid of this guy and carry on. There's really no rush. And here we talk about the big one. Welcome to Cleo, aka the hard boss of this run. This boss has 6 attacks. All of them are pattern, of course, however she chooses randomly. The main one to be aware of is the blue attack, as the way it ends will be very close to when Cleo will move towards you, and as you can see, she jumps very, very quickly. So when she does blue, you'll actually want to end a little bit further to whatever side is closest to her, specifically for this green attack, because when I was trying to run to the side and then run back towards her when green was going on, sometimes I actually wouldn't be able to go far enough to the side in time. Like, I wouldn't be far enough to the right in this specific case, so running back to the left, I'd be right on top of her by the time the attack ends. So here, if I'd had blue, and I had to jump over her late, I'd probably end around here, a bit left of the center, just to make sure green is safe. Also, another note, for the lightning specifically, feel free to pause when I get the lightning. Yeah, here, actually, I can show it. So, the right gap on this last one is slightly smaller than the left gap. Neither's too hard to go through, but if you're struggling a little bit, it's worth noting. Otherwise, yeah, just the attacks are very, very consistent. Orange is good, red is good, but you take what you're given. I believe out of the 7 attempts I had to Cleo, 5 of them cleared. So she is a very consistent boss as long as you play it safely and patiently. 1855. Oh, wrong timestamp, my bad. I did say semi-rough guide. Yeah, just a reminder here that while the oxygen timer really isn't that important for most of this game, you do still need to refresh it here. Otherwise you're gonna have a bad time afterwards. Here, my timing is around when these 2 are lined up on this block. I can try to time it right, show it off. So around when the first one hits the edge of the double block, and this works in both directions. As obviously I go a bit light, but that's just fine. And yeah, that works on, if you prefer it when it's going back to the left, and you jump then, when this hits the edge of the left block, that will work too. 2142... So just a note here, I do stop for a moment when entering this room to get all 3 shots off, as that seemed to guarantee that I'd hit the frog. If I ran at it, sometimes it would miss a shot or 2, I don't know why. Okay, I'm gonna pause the music for this one. So, I have an audio cue for this one. Talk about how the waterfall looks on stream. You'll notice that around when the sound effect for the block appearing gets higher pitched, is around when you can go. But, yeah. It's going to be a little quiet on OBS, I'll try turning it up for this attempt, but try to listen out for what I'm trying to talk about. Yeah. And then you'll see that I'm going there. It's definitely a little awkward. You can go, I believe it's a little bit before the sound ends, and you'll still make it as well. But obviously, this is kind of a tough jump. And it's better to go sooner rather than later. Like, that jump is definitely one of the more difficult ones. Especially in this stage specifically. Right, and also, in the screen right after here, you can just hold left. If you bonk, you'll make it. If you don't bonk and you jump up, then you can just pause for a moment in the middle and it's fine. 2253. This one's a little awkward for me. So for the first jump, as long as you just make sure you jump when you can, it's fine. If you mess up and don't hold right onto this block, then when this is coming back, just make sure you don't jump too early. Try to jump around when it's, you know, a little close to you. Because otherwise, even with slow fall, you'll still fall back into this as it's running away. Hold left. What was the next timestamp? The timing for this was a little bit before this block disappeared. You've got a fair bit of leniency again, because, you know, you can just wait on these and delay it out. But I believe I have an audio cue for this one too. I think it was Battle Kid 2. I think it was Battle... I mean, this is where Stinky got it from. I think it was Battle Kid... Okay, well clearly I don't have an audio cue, I apologise. Semi-rough guide. But yeah, like I said, it's a little bit before this one disappears that you can just go for it. And it's pretty lenient, so you don't have to worry too much there, but yeah, worth noting. 2416. Okay, skipping forwards a little bit here, because there's not much to talk about for this boss. All the way back. For this room, if you do miss your shots on the frog, then you can just run to the right and reset it quickly. I never had a problem there, and also just jumping a little bit, make sure you go over that guy, as you'll always have the time. Ah yeah, I was going to make a note of this room. Just be absolutely certain when the timing is. Make sure they're actually going away first, because I did die once here. That was definitely my silliest death, I'd say. Like, regardless of how simple a timing may be, just be absolutely certain you actually know when it is and don't just feel it out. Because a room like this is one that you shouldn't ever really die in, but it happens. And then this room, as long as you stop as soon as you hit the transition here, you will be safe, but it does cut it very close otherwise. As you can see here. Like, if you're just... I think if you're one step over, it's fine, but two, it might kill you. So just reset, make sure you're right on the edge. Bats round 2 with Slowfall, this is actually really, really free. So as long as you don't go after this bullet has disappeared, you should just be able to make this. You have all the time in the world. Yeah, it's very, very lenient. $31. This room is Sir Patch's strategy. I didn't feel very, hugely comfortable with it, despite it being very consistent. This was where my final PB died before I finished the run, and it died because I got a little nervous and I tried to play it safe by slow falling to get to the middle block instead of just going for it, as you can see here. The timing isn't that hard, I was just nervous, and yeah, as you can see, it looks like it cuts it close, so if you find a more consistent strategy for yourself, then that is the one room I would say feel free to go for it. 3141. Oh, the next room. Yeah, just a note on this one. If you do miss your shot, which is definitely possible, this block up here is safe from both of the bats. As this bat will shoot horizontal under it, and as you can see, this one going up misses as well. Just a note to make sure you're not to the right here. This first shot will kill you like 1 or 2 steps over. And then we get to the big one. This was a tough boss for me to find a consistent strategy for. The way this boss works is it will always shoot clockwise, but it will choose randomly from which one of the 4 to start with. Trying to slow fall past everything didn't quite work for me, so I had this, which is where you wait for the first shot, and then depending on where it is, you jump down, try to shoot the bottom one a fair bit, shoot up, and then just loop like that. So if it starts at the top, you do a bit of a long jump. If it started with the bottom one, if it starts with the top right, then you can go. No. Sorry, I gotta remember which way around this one. If it goes to the top right, you gotta make sure you go early around the third one, otherwise it will kill you. If it starts with the top left, I believe you can let this go past before the bottom one reaches you or something. I really can't remember, sorry, it's been a while. Obviously the fast one, you want to stay in the middle. The one issue that I'd say this strategy definitely has is that when one of them dies and all of the bullets speed up, it doesn't really line up perfectly with that on either the first or the second one dying. But yeah, outside of that, it felt like I could do it pretty much every time. Just try to make sure you don't kill the bottom... Which one was it first? Yeah, if you kill the top one a bit too quickly, it can be a little awkward trying to go down and shoot the bottom one. So, just be a bit careful. Whichever one you feel more comfortable with, really. But yeah, just to play it out again. You're very much waiting for the first shot on this one, and then you react to that, do a couple of shots on the bottom, jump up, shoot again, and just rinse and repeat until the end. If you want to count for when the fast shots are going to happen, because they are on a consistent loop, then feel free. I mostly just went off feeling. And then we're going to skipping very far ahead again. Yeah, so for this room, you pretty much go when the last one in this set of 3 is horizontal from the block that you're going to be standing on. So here, it's when it lines up with this spot. And then here it's when it lines up on the left. And that works every time for me. This room, I go when they're pretty much vertical, but honestly it's very lenient, so you can do whatever you feel like. This room is pretty much the instant it appears. But I will audio cue it for you. Like, a little bit after it spawns. And you will be able to make that. It's also a pretty lenient timing, thankfully. The boss, the main attack that I personally struggled with was the targeted one in the air. For the both ground attacks, you pretty much just go one block away from the edge, so either there or there. But yeah, for the air attacks, I double jump pretty much immediately in slow fall. If she does the target one, as you can see, I can fall down and then jump back through. And it generally gave me a pretty nice gap, and if it's the pattern attack, then, you know, it's the pattern attack, so it's consistent anyway. And just slowly make your way down. This room, if you want to just go for bad end, you go to the right, you deal with the bats again, but killing them is easy when you're going backwards. Go to the teleporter, and then go straight to the 4. I was going left because I wanted good end. There's only a couple of rooms that are, like, minorly difficult, but it's not that much extra challenge. I just did it because a friend had done it on their clear a long time ago. The timing for this room, got to be a bit careful, because if you're different on your timing, then obviously the ball is in a different place as well. So for the first one, I always waited a cycle, would go at the top, and then after that I could just run right. But if you've waited a couple of extra cycles and you didn't reset the room, just make extra sure on the timing to walk off. This room I'm just noting because it's a little scary for me. This isn't a difficult room with the fireballs, but it felt like it was very easy to screw up. Sorry. Just be careful that the bottom wizard, like the fast target wizard, will shoot before the sine wave wizard does. When you get both of them falling on top of each other, it threw me off sometimes, and I think they should fire together, but I forgot because one of them falls for longer, the timing will be different. For this room, always remember, it's better to stop too early than go too late. If you go too late, you're dead. If you stop too early and you've got to do it again, then you get to live still. And there we get to the big one. So, as a note, reminder, if you do feel like you've taken too long on this, you can jump back up and reset your timer, which is very important because this is the one save you really can't use the room reset on for anything else. And I'm going to let it play out in full because of that. The only real way to lose time on this is obviously if you miss your shots a fair bit, which you shouldn't lose too much on, but sometimes accidents happen, you reset a room for too long, and yeah, I couldn't see a better way of doing this. The speedrun and the task both did this room this way as well. The absolute limit for how much time you can have left as you reach the final room with the disappearing, appearing platforms is 13 seconds. If you are under 13 seconds entering that room, you're gonna have to do some scuff maneuvers to survive. That being a strat they use in the speedrun, which is you can jump between the blocks, even though it's a 1 block gap and there's a ceiling there. You gotta be a little bit off the block, and then you press jump and to the side at the same moment. Yeah, you can either miss a little bit on the previous thing, but sometimes it's easy to miss on the shellfish here. I had a really good clear, thankfully. But yeah, you can't do anything on the first half, that won't save you anything. If you jump here, and then you can either... It's a bit off to time, but you can do it. You can just hold right, if you're lucky. That will save you 5 seconds if you somehow enter at 8. If you wait for this one, this will save you 3. And then if you go for this one, it will save you 2. But if you're in this situation, you're in a bad place anyway. I'd recommend practicing it in the unlikely off chance you have to deal with it. But obviously, hopefully that never comes, because having to do that would be terrifying. And I have entered that final room at 14 once, and I did end with a single second left. Just a note, by the way, as you probably saw in this one, holding left on this screen here was always consistent. I died exactly once, and that's when I started shooting way too early because I wasn't paying attention. As long as you're shooting from relatively close, like around once you hit the pipe here, you'll hit this guy every time. I never had issues with it. Yes, you can hold left. This room is a mixture of Sir Patch's strategy and my own. My strategy was to try to bonk here because I was bad at aiming to kill the slime and then rush it. Sir Patch's was to go on the third wind, and then the slime will be on the left side. So I combined them together so that if I did somehow miss the slime, then I could just rush it if I really wanted to. Another case of spinning ball things. Up is obviously not too bad, you don't have to worry too much as long as you press right before you hit the edge of the block. And then going to the right is just when it hits the horizontal. This room you can just rush. On both directions is pretty good. And then we get to the final one. I have nothing to say for Zed. Final boss. So, the main things that I'd note, I'll try to, yeah, so first is this, fireballs. I'd like to jump up and try to get a couple of extra shots in, partly because it means less attacks, and partly because I felt pretty consistent with it. As you'll see later, sometimes the first round of fireballs can get a little scuffed. However, if you just do a single jump for the second round, it should be okay. The green yeah, as you see here. The green target attack, you kind of got to just deal with it. I didn't have a consistent strategy. This was Sir Patch's strategy. You go as the missile touches the line here. Even when it speeds up, that's generally fine. If you're worried about jumping a bit too early or late, then obviously you can just jump higher or lower, because as the fight goes on, the missiles go a little bit quicker. Targeted purple attack is targeted purple. Yeah, the green dots just kind of start where they start, and you have to react to it a little bit. They were one thing I didn't really feel like I was very consistent at. If you don't feel consistent with the double jump fireball thing, then feel free to just do the single jump through everything. But as long as you turn around soon enough, even if you miss the damage, then you won't die, and that's obviously what's important. And that's everything. So, yeah, if there's any rooms that anybody has questions on, feel free to ask in the comments. Obviously, my video is also on this channel and has the full clear there. And I hope this was useful.
He's just too good.